Welcome, everybody, to the second edition of the Forward Standard with your host, Tanner Courtney. And today I have with me Mr. Zach Benton in Texas. He is a Marine Corps veteran. He is a sniper, and I'm going to let him introduce himself way better than I did because just like Alyssa on our last show, I have only met Zach one time through social media, so we don't really know each other that well. So we're gonna get to know each other together with all of you here today. So Zach, go ahead.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Marine Corps. I was a sniper with 27. Did some time fire and EMS and contracting, and now I work in the cybersecurity space, and I'm a dad, and I try to help other veterans make that transition too.
Yeah, and you actually have your own podcast show as well, right?
Yeah, I host for Zero Foxtrot. They're like a veterans apparel company. They make like Whoopee jackets and all kinds of veterans stuff. I host their show, and there's another one that's anonymous that I wouldn't share with my name, so we won't talk about that one.
Understood, understood. Is that the Whoopi that you're rocking right now? Is that the Zero Foxtrot?
Yeah, yeah, this is one of their jackets.
Oh
They've got
yeah.
all kinds of good stuff.
I'm see now. I'm gonna have to get one of the. I'm gonna have to link up with you after this and get one of those because I do miss the Woogie jacket that I used to rock back in the Marine Corps. So man, I know that yesterday you briefly, or 2 days ago, briefly kind of gave me the rundown of yeah all the things that you've done and all the experience. And honestly, each one of those probably could, we could dive into for however long. So I think. Um, and I also, mentioned that I'm totally okay with going back and forth, right? Like if you, I'm good with sharing some of my story too. So, but I would like to start with, first off, how old were you when you joined the Marine Corps?
I was 18. I left 2 weeks after high school graduation.
Okay. And when you joined the Marine Corps, were you a first of your family?
No, most of the men in my family all served in some capacity. Grandfather was in World War II. He was in the Army. My uncle was a Marine in Vietnam. And to my understanding, he was a sniper in Vietnam, and that really drove my motivation. He also died when I was like 4. And so he was idolized in the family a lot, right? No one ever talks badly about the dead guy. So I grew up hearing all of the amazing things about him and was like, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do too.
Okay. So from an early age, you heard the legendary stories of your uncle and
Yeah.
Marine Corps sniper, and then you did it.
Yeah.
So, wow, that's cool. So, do you have exposure to if your dad was also in the military? Is that right?
My biological dad, I'm not real sure about. My stepdad was in the army, and
Okay.
so yeah,
So, did you grow up like shooting and stuff like that?
I did. He was a cop, and I grew up on a 3,300 acre ranch. Was basically an only child. My brother's 13 years older, and so he bounced when I was super young. And so yeah, I had free reign on that ranch and enjoyed every inch of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of
Cool.
shooting. We used to hang a Coke can in the tree. That was our ongoing games. We'd sit on the porch with a BB gun and shoot it until it fell in half, and then we'd replace it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is yep.
It takes
That
a
I
long
would
time to shoot a can in half with a BB gun.
yeah, I don't think I ever did that. I don't think I ever shot one in half, but I will say though that that was my childhood as well. My parents split when I was probably like 12 years old, so my dad lived out in the country, about 30 minutes away. And so we had the space to shoot in our backyard. And we would always just post up with pellet guns, BB guns, and hang the cans from the trees. And yeah, that's such a good time. Good memories there. I remember too, I don't know if you ever did this. Did you have siblings?
I have some half siblings, but none that I grew up with. I mostly grew up alone.
Okay. Okay. Uh, I was gonna say because I have a brother who's 2 years younger than me, Tyler, and I would say I was probably 13, 14 or so, probably around that time frame, probably 13. And paintball guns were a big thing back then. I mean, I'm sure they've always been for a long time, but for us, that was about the time that we started getting into paintballing. And then we took it one step further for whatever reason, and we were using so we had the pump action BB guns, and back then, the more that you pump it, the stronger FPS, feet per second, it would go, and we would have like a one pump or two pump limit or something, right? And we would literally be hunting each other and shooting each other, just like paintball. And I remember I would pump that thing up like to 8 or 9 or 10, right? And of course, we were not wearing eye protection or
Oh yeah.
anything. And I shot my brother in the face. I got him real good. He was popping up over a ledge and got him right underneath the eye. And yeah, my dad he whooped my ass. And
Yeah.
yeah, so just because I don't know if he knew we were doing that or what, but man, those are good times. Good times doing that. And shooting bow and arrow too. I'm sure that you probably did some of that.
Oh yeah. I grew up watching Dances with Wolves and Lonesome Dove and Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman. And so my whole childhood, like my dad had a teepee, we had buckskin clothes. I
Oh
used to
wow.
throw tomahawks and like we had the black powder rifles and all of it. There's a
Yeah.
thing called like mountain manning or the mountain man whatever community, and we were involved in that for a while when I was a kid. So that was super fun. Very primitive survival type of 1800s living. Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, I'm sure that sounds amazing. So yeah, you were definitely bred like a warrior and
I
became
was
a
feral.
warrior.
I was a
Yeah,
feral child for sure.
yeah, that's so cool. All right, so you joined at 18, the Marine Corps. At what point? So what was your first MOS? Can you take me through your journey of the Marines, and then maybe I'll take you through mine.
Yeah, yeah. I joined in the summer of '03. I was an 0311 rifleman. I asked what's the fastest way to get into a sniper platoon, and they're like, go infantry. And so that was what I did. They had the recon opportunity, but after getting hazed in the pool, I was like, fuck that. Like I had no interest in getting sharked in the pool anymore. And so the sniper thing was, I don't know, that was what's calling to me. So that's the way I went. Um, got to 2-7. We had to do a first deployment before you could try out for the sniper platoon. They wouldn't take any boots. And so I had to suck up that one. And then after we got back, I hit the trails. I was stationed in 29 Palms. And so my evenings were running the hills and prepping for the end dock and got through it.
And that was at 2-7, right? Two
Yeah.
seven.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, take me a little bit through the knock really quick. I know that it's not as bad as sniper school, so you might not even
Yeah.
remember.
No, it's mostly like a competency. Can you do basic things, follow instructions, show up on time, complete some land nav, fill out some questionnaires, deal with some hazing, get challenged a little bit, and can they make you quit is really what it comes down to. And so, yeah, it was a couple of days, 24, 48 hours, something like that. It wasn't real long. I've heard some platoons do some really long end docks. I don't think we had the manpower to sustain, and so most of our hogs were all getting out, and so there was a complete changeover of the sniper platoon after my first deployment. And so, yeah, I made it through. I think only four of us got through it that had high enough scores all around to go to school. And so a month after passing the indoc, we had 2 weeks of actual training and then 2 weeks of Christmas leave. And I had to come
Oh,
home early on Christmas leave to start sniper school like January 3rd at Camp Pendleton. And so I was in the platoon for 2 weeks before I got sent on leave and then sent to school. That
yeah.
sucked.
So you were,
That
yeah.
that sucked.
Well, especially because you probably, I mean, I can imagine that you probably didn't enjoy your Christmas leave too much.
No,
I
it
mean,
was yeah, it was very
yeah.
stressful for sure. I was trying to study. I was very concerned, obviously, because a lot of the guys before the war, sniper school was a lot of hazing, a lot of can you just endure because there wasn't a war to support and need the MOS, and so it was a can you get into our club? Okay, let's find out. Well, once the war started, then it's like, okay, we actually need these guys to know how to do this job. So stop just burning dudes out and train them. And so then things changed where even if you failed a portion of school, they would allow you to continue so that you got the training value, but you wouldn't get the MOS. And so little things like that started to adjust, which made more sense, right? Like it's not just about keeping titles because these dudes are going to war regardless,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
so that was good. But yeah, I don't know. What was your question again? Sorry.
Well, no, it's okay. So, I mean, what I was getting at was you were obviously very fast tracked into your dream, which is great. I mean, it sounds like you showed up. You got to do a fairly shorter in doc, which is probably pretty standard. I know some do a little bit longer. Then 2 weeks, you're going. I mean, that is definitely not how it was at like my platoon. But and then you said you're right at the time of the war at that time. What year was that?
Yeah, this would have been January 2005.
Okay. So you did you cruise right through school the first time?
I passed. I wouldn't say I cruised.
Yeah, well, you didn't get like rolled or dropped or anything, though.
No, no, I got very lucky. Honestly, I didn't even take enough underwear to get through the first week. Like my buddies and I were like, "There's no fucking way we're gonna pass this." Like I've built a ghillie suit, I've done 3 field sketches, and I've held the rifle. That's where I'm at, right? And
Yeah,
so,
yeah,
in all honesty, we kind of just laughed it off and we're like, you know what? I'm fucking here until I'm not. So just do the best you can and we'll see how far we get. And we would laugh about it almost every day, like one more day. Like we made it one more day, you know. It's like, you think we're
yeah.
actually going to get to the end of the week? It's like, nah. You know, we were just laughing, right? And then like the closer you got to the end, it got more stressful. It's like, are we actually going to pull this off? Are we going to fucking graduate sniper school? Holy shit. Right? And then you get through like the toot and you get through some of like stalking and you start hitting some milestones and the marksmanship side, the things that really, eat guys up and cause attrition, and you survive them, and you're like, wow, we might actually do this. And then at the end of it, you're told that you're a sniper. You don't feel a lick of different, but you're a whole lot less heavy than you were. I
Yeah,
think I lost 20
yeah.
pounds.
Oh
Um,
man, I bet.
yeah. I don't know. What
Yeah,
was your experience similar? What was yours like?
yeah. So just to make sure that you know, everybody knows, I did not go to sniper school,
Okay.
so I only got the taste of the good life.
Yeah.
But so because I was a corpsman, so
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have a couple different experiences of going through stuff like that, but unfortunately, no, I was not in the MOS. So, real briefly, just for your knowledge, uh, 2016. So I was 23 years old. Well, no, I would have been 22 at that time ish. But basically, I went to college after high school and I played baseball. It was my junior year in college that I decided I felt a calling to join the Navy. I wanted to be a Navy SEAL. And then it's not that I wanted to be one. I didn't even know what those were. It was my roommate at the time had a flag on the wall. I'm like, what is that? And he told me about his cousin. And, that's when I found out about all of them. So I went to SEAL officer assessment and selection in 2016, which was just 2 weeks of mini buds, is what they call it. And basically, I made it through all that. We won't go into it too much here on this one, but it just didn't get selected. It's very highly competitive. I would say they probably pick like one, maybe two civilians out of a class of like 200 because you're competing for billets against Naval Academy guys, ROTC guys, and OCS guys that are literally being groomed for this by CO mentors. So I knew that there was no qualms in my like I was like, this is a cool experience. Like now I'm gonna go join enlisted. And so I joined enlisted with the SEAL contract and then made a big mistake in boot camp and let myself get out of shape enough to when I showed up to Bud's prep, I failed the physical standard test, the PST, by one pull up. So I was basically, 200 pounds about that time. So pull ups were always just something I really had to train a lot. I mean, I was doing pull ups every day, like for years prior to that, trying to train up for that. And Going through boot camp, I barely did any, and failed by one pull up. So I became a Navy corpsman, and uh, then finally, let's see, I spent 2 years in the emergency room, working in a hospital from 2017 to 19, which was a cool experience. Medicine was, I really liked the ER, the fast paced environment. I actually thought that I might go be a ER doc at one point. And then after those 2 years, my first green side was with 3rd Law Enforcement Battalion in Okinawa, Japan. And then I spent 1 year there before arriving back to 62 area of Camp Pendleton with 2-5. And that is where I had the opportunity to screen for the 2-5 Scout Sniper Platoon. And our NDOC was, I think, like 6 days, maybe 7 to 6 days or so. And I'm sure it was no less difficult than yours. I know everybody's different, but I just remember feeling like that NDOC week was actually harder than the 2 week of SEAL officer assessment selection. And I think the reason being is because for SEAL officer assessment selection, I actually at least got a minimum, I think, of like 4 hours of sleep a night. For that 6 days of sniper, we got like an hour and a half of sleep every night.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, and that was you basically had enough time to go home, eat a large piece, not even go home, go to the barracks, like like right on site, eat like a large pizza, Costco pizza. I would have my roommate that lives somewhere else, drop off a large Costco pizza and just all this stuff, and just pound down food, shower, and then get like an hour of sleep, and then you got to be back down there going again. And but that was a great time though, because that's the type of thing I wanted, And honestly, the snipers, the Marines, uh, that was, I mean, the best Marines that I've ever met. You know what I mean? Like you guys are amazing, and the me being a pig in that platoon, obviously I was like the corpsman medic, but so obviously I like would train the guys through CLS and um, a little bit more advanced stuff, just so everybody can take care of themselves medically. But they held me to the same standard as everybody else as far as all the shooting and training, which I loved that. So when it came down to sending guys to school, they would just send the one or two, however many billets they had, of who they thought out of the pigs has the best chance of succeeding. So I was in the platoon for probably, I don't know, a couple months before they gave me a billet to go, which I know corpsmen like Eddie Gallagher, if you know Eddie Gallagher, like he was a corpsman and then he became a SEAL. But while he was a corpsman, he went to sniper training and became a scout sniper. But basically, it's very rare. Like it's not very often that they do that. But it still does happen here and there. So I had a billet to go, but I think it was like ops chief, or I don't know exactly what rank or level, but somebody within my battalion ended up pulling the plug on that because he didn't believe the Navy should be allowed to go to take Marine Corps billets. Um, so that I can kind of understand because, right, like if I were to go to school and pass and become a sniper, cool. But then, 2 years from now, no matter what, I have to rotate and I could end up in a hospital or whatever. To where what good is that I'm a sniper at a hospital, right? So, yeah, that was unfortunate. So, um, and then long story short, I spent my time there with them, and I actually would have, and I almost re-enlisted for another 3 years just to stay with them because I just love being with them so much. I mean, constantly growing. It's just amazing, amazing group of guys. And um, but I wanted to be a SEAL, so I held on to that. And I was now, so 6 years later, I had in my back pocket the opportunity to go to SEAL Officer Assessment and Selection again. So I decided to take that route. And long story short, again, I just don't think that I'm very confident that maybe that was a calling or a path for me at one point early on, and I blew it maybe during the boot camp thing where I failed. But at that point, it was just not meant to be because I went through the whole 6 years very healthy, very in shape, all that stuff. And right when I got contracted to go to SEAL Officer Assessment and Selection after the 6 years of waiting, like finally, this is my here we go. Like let's fucking crush this. Uh, I ended up going into I had like AFib or whatever, atrial fibrillation, so where I had to have like a heart cardiac ablation procedure surgery done. To where the 2 months prior to me showing up to Buds, I wasn't like allowed to do anything but like walk essentially. And typically, when there's stuff going on with your heart, they don't really let you go to Buds. But obviously, I fought tooth and nail to clear me, and I got cleared. But when I showed up, I I just got crushed, man. Like I was just so out of shape from not being able to train properly for the last month or two, to where on the very last day, I ended up quitting pretty much. Yeah, I quit because Buds is not. I'm not sure sniper school if you guys do things that are super heavy team oriented, but Buds is not an individual evolution. When you're on a boat, when you're under a boat or on a log, if you're not doing anything, if you're doing 0% of your effort and weight, you are literally screwing over the rest of your team, right? So, and I remember very clearly they gave a speech to us, and maybe it was a speech to weed out the mentally weak. I don't know, or not mentally weak, but maybe not the right fit. But they made a speech at the beginning of like how if you're not pulling your weight, like if you're just absolutely like just completely fucked and you're just screwing over your team, like to quit so you don't hurt your team, whatever. And yeah, I just could not get over the fact that that feeling of like knowing that I was screwing over these guys so bad because I couldn't hold my weight anymore. So that's why I quit. Yeah, and then I got out. So and then lots of stories since then, but uh, it was crazy. So I didn't get to go through the whole sniper school thing, but I got to go through pre-sniper school, which was like I don't know if you didn't get the chance to do anything like that because you were so fast tracked, but
It
they
didn't
put on.
exist. It didn't exist back then. It there was because I remember they created like a 1 month preschool and then like a 2 month actual like graduate program or something. But no, back then it was just 11 weeks of sniper school. They didn't have a pre.
Yeah, yeah. No, so I just got a taste of the fun life, but like I said, it was a good time. So I would love to. Do you still shoot now? Do you still get behind the
Mm,
line?
no, not very often. I was teaching at a company or at a ranch called FTW in West Texas for a while. It's a long range shooting school, but it's kind of catered for hunters. It's about 10,000 acres. They've got like 35 different shooting ranges on it. And so it was teaching very wealthy safari hunters how to shoot, wild sheep and stuff when they're up in the mountains, make 500-600 yard shots. But then also military dev group MARSOC come through every quarter, so we got to train with them and work with them. Mostly just RSO. They don't need us to train them, right? Their recce's
Right,
they know how to shoot, but we can run them through drills and run them through some of the training and the courses that we had. It was fun. And get to go hog hunting at night with dev group. That's pretty fun.
nice,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so when you got out, then did you grow up in Texas?
Hmm.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, so you got out and then you went back home basically,
Yeah.
and you got that job right there that you're just talking about.
No, I joined the fire department initially. I went to the fire
Oh,
department and I did 4 years of fire and EMS and made enough money to be
oh,
broke. And so decided once I got married, we did a week-long sailing school and we just island hopped to the Virgin Islands. And we're like, let's just do this. But I didn't make enough money as a fireman to buy a sailboat. And so
right.
all my friends were in Baghdad, and my wife's like, "Well, go contract for a couple of years. Let's stuff some money in the bank, and then we'll buy a boat." And so she went to nursing school to learn another career that could be mobile, and I went overseas to try to earn money. And then we had a kid.
You went overseas doing your job that you did in the Marine Corps.
I did. I started as a shooter, but I realized there was a lot more money as a medic, and the 4 years with EMS qualified me as a medic for State Department. And so I had the experience. I just needed the actual licensing. And so I went and got the license after I did it online, my first deployment as a sniper. Well, I also realized the game, right? They would hire a bunch of snipers and then they would cut the pay, and any of the snipers on the teams that bitched, they would fire and send home. And then they'd bring in the new guys and pay them less. Rinse and repeat, right? Every year.
Yeah.
So they build up a bench, drop the pay. Anyone who's mad, let them quit. And then they just inch it down every 18 months like that. And that was contracting. Um,
Wow. Wait, so hold
so
on, hold on. I'm not. We're gonna get into the wife and kid part there because you casually dropped that. When did you start dating your wife? When did that happen?
I started dating her in 2012. I was a fireman.
Okay, so you met
Yeah.
her down in Texas when you were a fireman.
Yeah.
She called because the cat was stuck in a tree, and you came and rescued her, and it was love at first sight.
Something like that. It was a mutual friend that introduced us. They were actually on a blind date, and we were the tag-alongs. And we ended up connecting, and they didn't so much. But we ended up going to Italy a month after that together. She was doing like an over summer camp teaching, and so I went with her, and it was like I'm either gonna love this chick or hate her at the end of this, you know. But it was good. We got along really well, and we traveled well together, and that became our thing. So we've probably had 9 honeymoons. Every deployment, I'd come back and say, "Where you want to go?" And we'd go somewhere else till we had kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When was your first kid then? You
He
got
was born
married.
in, yeah, we got
Yep.
born in 2012. We got 6 years, and then we had my oldest in 2018.
Mm,
Yeah.
your oldest 2018. How many kids did you say?
Just two. I've got one that's 7 and one that's like 1.5.
Okay.
Yeah, we
All
started
right.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My, well, boys, girls, boys,
Both
girls,
boys.
both boys. All right. Cool. I'm sure that's a fun journey.
It's total
So
chaos.
yeah, so let's talk about a little bit about when you transitioned out of the military. I mean, it sounds like you, right, because of the type of Marine you were, you're a sniper, so you were somebody that's very, you know, whether you know it or not, whether it was casual for you. I mean, you're somebody who's a go-getter, you get shit done, you don't quit, like, trying to be your best. So you became fire pretty quickly. Talk to me about transitioning out for you. I mean, did you go through any struggle, mental health wise, transition wise? And then I do want to lead into kind of the stuff that you're have been doing in regards to that field.
Um, I didn't really struggle until 2022. And so I kind of convinced myself that I had transitioned to civilian life, but that was a facade, right? I went from a sniper team to a fire department team. Uniform, 4-man team, still got a mission, still got a rotation, right? Very, very similar. And then I went from
Yeah,
there back overseas to contracting, which was, you're on a 8 to 10 man team, very similar, had the same role, different uniforms, different facial shaving, policies, but same life, same people, same shit. And then jumped over to another agency program, which was more specialized, but again, the same situation. And so nothing hit me until we left Afghanistan. And I had, in my mind, been out of the Marine Corps for mm, 15 years, but nothing shifted really. I was just jumping teams. I was in the same game.
yeah,
About 6 months after we left Afghanistan, it overlapped with Naked and Afraid, which was another difficult experience. My partner left on day 4, and so 17 days and nights alone in the jungle was an adjustment, right? Like that coming back home was like the almost the most difficult deployment to come home from, even though it was only 3 weeks. Like the no personal contact, the no digital contact, the no not having someone to talk to, like being by yourself all the time in the quiet, in the dark, and then you come back home to here. that was a lot. And to have lost my job, right? Like I got out of the jungle, found out we left Afghanistan. The agency wasn't even in the country anymore. Team was gone, deployments over, all of it. And so they offered GRS. Do I want to go to Somalia and take a pay cut or find another life? And so honestly, after 17 days alone in the jungle, I knew I needed another life. My boy was 3, and he had come up to me right before I left. I'd been home for like 2 or 3 weeks, and I was leaving for Colombia, and he gave me like this koala bear hug and then thanked me for coming to visit him. And it broke my heart that he didn't understand I lived there.
Mm.
He
Yeah.
just thought dad finally came to visit him.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to go. I felt fucking terrible. And so yeah, sat in the dark for a long night, a lot of nights, I guess, thinking about that, staring at the fire and wondering what the fuck I'm doing.
And so when you're talking about the 17 days alone in the jungle, that was for you were doing contract work and that's just the situation you were in? Or what was that? Can you just explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, that was the Naked and Afraid challenge that I did in 2021 of August or August of 2021. Have you heard of that?
I
It's like a survival challenge that Discovery Channel has where they strip you naked and they put you in the jungle or in Africa or wherever for 3 weeks with a partner to see if you can survive.
I have heard of that. That's what I thought it was, but I didn't want to be incorrect in thinking that you're actually talking about submission right now. So I wanted to clarify, but
No, no, that
um
was a side mission for fun, but
yeah, holy
miserable
cow.
fun.
Wait, so you literally were on Naked and Afraid, the TV show.
hmm you
And
see the picture behind me? Look at my head.
yes.
Those are all
Okay.
shots from that.
Wow. Wait, so were you with like a male or a female? I don't know if you can hear me right now. What? Look at this. This is what's great about not knowing too much of it. That's so cool. Oh.
So yeah, that was a lot to adjust from, as well as losing my job and coming home from that. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So let's just talk about that just for a second because that's crazy to me. So where were you at for that? For the Naked and
Car
Afraid?
Cartagena, Colombia.
And you're truly naked, obviously. I believe that's true.
Yeah,
I mean, was that not like, I mean, man, I know that, okay, I can sleep on the ground, I can sleep outside, I can do a lot of things. But to be completely naked, little insects, creatures, crawlers, Columbia, like, I mean, was that hard for you at all, other than the mental of being alone? But were you just cool
on it.
with it?
I mean, honestly, the bugs after the first day or two, it's just a part of the experience. It wasn't fun by any means. Like the mosquitoes were unbelievable
Oh my
and
God.
just never ending, right? All day, all night, all the time. And so sleeping, I maybe slept 2 hours a night for 3 weeks, maybe. And that's just accumulative, right? So I would sleep about 15 to 20 minutes at a time because one,
You're,
the fire would go out. And so there were wood eating ants, carpenter ants all over the jungle. And so any piece of wood that had died was hollowed out by the ants. So I could burn it, but it would just turn to ash. I wouldn't get
and
any
then
coals.
did you know the environment? I mean, I'm assuming you studied the environment pretty well before you went.
I tried. They told me I was going to Colombia, and so
Right. So to see what kind of predators are out there, like, you know, because I'm sure I'd be scared shitless and pitch black in a jungle of like anything, snake, whatever. I don't know, something poisonous getting into me.
yeah, snakes
So
were the biggest concern. They've got some vipers and they've got some shit that'll kill you for sure. Most of the animals, they're more as long as you don't sneak up on them. There wasn't anything I was real worried about. Caiman, they're not particularly aggressive or big, and so the only thing that worried me at night was a snake crawling up to me and getting warm or something, and then me just responding or rolling over it and getting bit. Like that was But yeah, man, you just got to sit there and fucking control your mind. There ain't nothing else you
Yeah,
can do but sit
yeah,
there and ignore
I
what
can't,
you can't control.
yeah, exactly. Like, wow. I feel like what you did with that experience is there's not much that can replicate that insight that you got because that would be very difficult. I haven't really watched the show too much. I've seen it, I've heard of it, but man. And then I'll just ask one last question before we move on that. Were you with another? You said you were with one other person for that, or were you all alone?
It starts off with a partner, but she quit on the morning of day 4.
Okay, so oh, so you were alone from day 4 till day 17 or whatever.
Yeah, it was 21 total days, but 17 alone.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it sucked.
Woo! Wow, man. Okay, so you got okay, so fire was in the past way before that. You've already done a lot of or a handful of contracting jobs. You're doing Naked and Afraid. You come home, your 2-year-old son says, "Thanks for the visit, Daddy," and it makes you realize, whoa. So then I know we don't really actually have a whole lot of time left, so, and I know that we're going to talk again. So because we haven't even actually got into the stuff that I really wanted to get to, but that's what happens when you have so much experience like yourself. So I guess let's see how should let's wrap this up with some like lessons really quickly because we really only have like 3 minutes left. Let's see. So going through your military experience, your fire experience, your contracting, I agree with you. That's all kind of like one and the same, just a different uniform. Um, who you are now versus who you are back in that season. What do you think is like the biggest thing that you've learned or grown through, like as far as a lesson of like you wish you would have known like during any of those seasons?
I wish I
Tough
had
question.
known the deeper level of training that was taking place that I didn't understand because that's what's omitted from the military, and that's what I think is eating guys up. And so what I mean by that is like I felt like, oh, they've trained me, right? And to a degree they did. They taught me history, they taught me how to wear the uniform, how to march, how to I already knew how to shoot, but they taught me a lot of skills, right? But there was also a level of training that was happening to my nervous system. And that I didn't understand. That we almost felt like was intrinsic and expected and sometimes even something to be kind of proud of. I one of the stories that specifically stands out was Mojave Viper. I don't know if y'all were doing that pre-deployment training that we were doing, but they didn't know what to do with the snipers, and so they asked us to be Op 4, which is the opposition, right? So we're dressed up like Hajis and we're running around with fake AKs and, with blanks and shooting shit. And so we're irritated, but having fun with it. And I decide to throw a big rock down the stairwell and yell grenade and watch everyone jump out of windows and laugh, right? Idiots. But that was a training. You know what I mean? They didn't look because they weren't trained to look. They were trained to respond and to react. And that shit takes time and intention. And that's exactly what boot camp is. It is 3 months of stress them out so that they don't think, they react. And it's necessary. It keeps you alive. Shots get fired, you drop to the ground. Your weapon falls, you follow it, right? All the things that they teach us, screaming, move now, don't question, go, go. All that shit is training our nervous system for threat. That's all that matters. We recognize threat. I enter the streets, I'm looking for threat. I don't just think it's there, I believe it's there. I'm looking now for proof. Just looking for proof. Where's that threat? Is it on the roof? Is it in the alley? Where is this? That keeps me alive in combat. But there's no training to come home and expand your awareness beyond threat. And so I'm home. I know I'm home, but my nervous system doesn't know I'm home. It just sees I'm driving down a road again. And when shit's on the side of the road, that could be threat. And now my body starts to react, and I don't understand why. This is stupid. Why am I crying in traffic right now?
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, part of that cycle of going into threat, your nervous system also has to regulate and downgrade back to safety. We don't let it do that. Partially because on deployment, you're never allowed to. There's no point at all for those 4 years that they ever said, okay, guys, you're safe. I want you to turn it off.
Yeah.
I want you to sit down and rest and relax in the moment that you are not in danger right now and just let yourself rest. That never fucking happened. Those words never entered anyone's vocabulary, not in that arrangement anyway. And
No.
so you come home with this system that's trained and rewarded to only recognize threat. And now I'm supposed to play with my kids and wonder why I can't connect and wonder why this feels dumb.
Yeah.
And when I'm told to have gratitude for the fact that I made it home, that doesn't make me feel better. That makes me feel guilty. And so, yes, there's place for gratitude. It's in recognizing that moment with your kid, recognizing and expanding your awareness beyond threat, but to also include safety. When am I safe? Can I at least recognize when that happens and be safe, be restful, sit here in it and not worry about checking the doors, closing the windows, closing the blinds, walking around the house? Let me check the locks one more time. Is my pistol loaded? But is there one in the chamber or did I go condition three? Fuck, I can't remember. Right? Like I do all that shit. We all do all that shit. Right? But
Yeah.
there was never any moment that I was explained, like, yeah, this was the training that you received to turn you into a Marine. Well, how do you turn back into a civilian? And I'm not trying to dump the awareness. I'm not trying to dump the threat. I know there's threat. I'm still going to carry and I'm still going to switch that shit on. But when I'm playing with my kid, I
Right.
need to be playing with my kid. But how do I do that? And so that's been what I didn't know and what's taken me the last 5 years to figure out.
Yeah. And I think that actually is an amazing transition because the show's going to be over, but that'll lead us into I would love to be able to obviously have you on another one or I go on yours, but um, that is 100% such a great insight and point that even though I didn't do even as much as far as right, like I deployment when I was in, I didn't see war or anything, but I I can 100% understand and agree with you that they don't train us how to turn that off or how to transition out and how to be still and be present and be aware. So I know that you though have learned that the hard way and now have went through I don't even know actually all the experience that you've went through to get to where you are, but you now help people. So that is what we will talk about next time. But Zach, thank you so much for coming on this morning, very last second with a complete stranger. But I see anybody that served in the military and especially Scout Sniper Marine Corps veteran brother as a brother. So I'm so grateful that you joined us today. You have such an incredible story, and I can't wait to hear more and get to know you more.
Yeah, man, thank you. I'm happy to the opportunity to share it. Appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. So that'll be it today for the Forward Standard. And until next time, be blessed.
Sounds good. Thank you.